Welcome to the tutorial exporting a 3D object from Maya, the first video in the 2D 3D integration video tutorial series. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to set up your system so that you can export a 3D object from Maya in a format that Harmony understands so that you can integrate this 3D object in your 2D animation. So already 2D and 3D animation are quite different in terms of their production. And in addition to that, Toon Harmony and Autodesk Maya are two softwares that are created by two different companies. So in order to get these two softwares talking to one another, we have to go through a multi-step process. So the first step in that process is to enable our 3D token. So all a 3D token is a license. And what this license will do is unlock features that already exist in Harmony 9. So you can obtain your 3D token from your sales representative. But in my case, I've already obtained that license and I've written it down in this notepad file. So in order to enable your 3D token, you'd have to go to the Start menu, go to All Programs, enter the Toon Harmony 9.2 folder, click on the License Tools folder, and in the License Tools folder, you'll see a program called License Wizard, and you can identify that program by this gear icon that sits beside it. So this opens the Toon Activation Wizard, and what we'd like to click is Activate License. So then we have our 4 activation options. Don't worry too much about the 3 below. What we're really looking to do is an internet activation. And in this case, I am a single user. However, if you are the network administrator and the computer that you're working on happens to be the server, you may want to click on network license so that this license affects all the computers that are associated with your network. So then we get to a place where they're asking for the product code. So that's the same thing as your 3D token or your 3D license. So what I'm going to do is go back to my notepad file, select the entire number, use Control-C to copy, go back to the license wizard, put my cursor in the first field, and then use Control-V to paste in the entire number. Then I'm going to click on Activate. And as you can see, my activation has been successful. So because I have a temporary license, I actually have an expiry date here. It's valid till December 15th of this year. However, I'm sure that you obtained a permanent license, so you probably will not see any type of expiry date. And after you're finished, you can click on the Finish button. And I'm also going to close this notepad file. So now what we've essentially done is unlocked a bunch of features that already exist in Harmony 9 but were hidden until we enabled that 3D token. So now when we go into Harmony, we'll be able to see menu items that correspond to the 2D 3D integration as well as some extra options. So the next step in the process is to install the plugin. So once again, this is something that you can obtain from your sales representative. In my case, I have it here on my desktop. And there are a few things that you have to be careful of when you select your 3D plugin, or perhaps it will be selected for you, but you might want to verify a few things about it. First of all, that it corresponds to the correct version of Maya that you have. So I have the one for Maya 2012, and as you see here, it's actually written on my desktop shortcut for Maya that it's Maya 2012. This is a pretty recent trial version that I downloaded, so I'm sure it was published in this year. In addition to that, you have to make sure that you have the right number of bits. So in this case, my plugin is for 32 bits. And I'll show you in a minute how you can verify whether you need a 64-bit version or a 32-bit version. And of course, you have to verify that you have it for the correct operating system. So in my case, it's Win for Windows. If you're using Mac, you would obviously see Mac. So the way to verify whether you have the 32 or 62-bit version is actually to go into the program files for your computer. So to do that, we'll go back to the Startup menu and select My Computer. Some of you might have your My Computer as an icon on your desktop, so you can always just double-click that to enter it. Then you're going to double-click the hard drive where you installed Maya. So in my case, it's the C drive. I'm going to double-click on that. And you'll notice that I actually have 2 sets of program files, and that's because I have a 64-bit version of Windows. However, if my Maya program files have been installed in this folder here that has the bracket x86, that actually means that it's a 32-bit version of Maya. However, if it's in this program files folder without any number and brackets beside it, then it's actually the 64-bit version. And that's just one way of verifying. There are many different ways. So I know for a fact it's a 32-bit version. So if I go in here and I go into Autodesk, I'll see here my Maya program files. And actually, if we go back and we go into this other program files folder, we won't see anything for Autodesk, nor do I see anything for Toon Boom. So both of my softwares are actually installed in this 32-bit folder. So let's go back into this Autodesk folder and into our Maya 2012, or if you're using a different version, it might say Maya 2011. And I'm just going to put this here. And then what I'm going to do is actually double click on my plugins folder. When you receive this plugin, you probably received it in the form of a zip file. So of course you have to uncompress that zip file using a software program such as WinZip, for example. And once your file has been uncompressed, you can view the contents of that folder. So let's examine what we have inside our folder. We have a .mll file, a script file, and several .dll files, and of course a README file. So let's double click on that README file to see what it says. So it says to install the Maya plugins, copy the DLL files to whatever your Maya installation directory is /bin, that we need to copy the .mll file into bin/plugins. So inside the bin folder, there should be a folder called plugins, and to copy the script or the .mel file to the script's others. So I think that's pretty straightforward. So here we are in our Maya 2012 folder. We already see a folder called bin. So I'm going to double click on that. This is where we need to copy our DLL files. And it's pretty obvious because there's already a bunch of .dll files in this folder. So what I'm going to do is click on the first .dll file, hold down Shift, click the last one. I don't want the README, so I'm actually going to Control click this README so it's unselected. Then I'm going to use Control C to copy, go back to this bin folder, and then use Control V to paste. And so they've all been pasted in this folder. So let's go back up one level to this bin folder here, because inside the bin folder, if you remember from the README file, it actually said that there should be a plugins folder, and here it is right here. So let's double click on the plugin, and this is where we need to copy the .mll file. And once again, we know this because it's already full of .mll files. So let's select that. Once again, do a copy, go back to this folder, and do a paste. And now let's actually go back up 2 levels, so to the Maya 2012 folder, and let's scroll down until we see a folder called scripts. And in the scripts folder, we need to select others. And once again, I am following just what it said in the README. I've done this a few times, so I happen to remember, but you can keep referring to that README file. And then we're going to go back to our Maya to OSB plugin folder, select that Maya to OSB export script file, do another copy, go back into this folder, and then do a paste. So now our plugin, so to speak, should be installed correctly. And of course, what this is going to let us do is once we launch Maya, it's going to allow us to now export a file format that Harmony will understand. There is actually one more step to the process, however, so let's close these windows first. And let's launch Maya. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm using a trial version, so I'm going to click on Use Autodesk Maya, this button here at the top. Yours will probably just launch automatically. Okay, so this is just the window that provides some how-to videos for beginners in Maya. So I'm just going to close that. And now what we need to do is go to this top menu bar here at the top and select the menu window, and then select Setting Preferences, and then select the last menu item, Plugin Manager. Then we need to scroll down until we find the Maya to OSB.mll. And we need to check both loaded and auto load. So let's do that. Check loaded and auto load. And then click close. Okay, so that's the final step in installing the plugin. So now we're at the point where you could create an object in Maya, or if you already have an object, you could open that file. In my case, I already have an object, so I'm going to open that file. So I'm going to open this pirate ship 13-1.mb, MB standing for my binary file, and say open. And we can see the wireframe of my ship. You can go through and see what it looks like, shaded, with all its texturing as well. One important thing to note before you make the export from Maya of your 3D object is that you have to do all of the texturing and set up all your lights in Maya. Once you get to Harmony, you can't do any of those things because Harmony is a 2D software. It's going to allow you to see your object, but it's still going to be somewhat connected to Maya. And Maya will be doing all the rendering that you will see in Harmony. So everything essentially has to be done in Maya for you to see it properly in Harmony. And one of the biggest things that you should be aware of is that if you don't have your lights connected to the object you're importing and you make a rotation of your object in Harmony, it might all of a sudden go black. So the best thing to do is actually attach your lights to your object so that when it rotates, the lights will rotate with it. And in this case, the light, the ambient light one, is already attached to the ship. However, if it's somewhere else in this layer stack, what you could do is use your middle mouse to click on it, drag it, and drop it on your object. So in this case, it would be my ship. And what it'll do is it will attach to the object. Also, as I mentioned, all your texturing, so all the skinning or pelting or whatever of your character needs to already be done and needs to be available in the same folder as your Maya binary file. So now to export your object, we're going to go back to the top and select File, Export All. And the Export All dialog box opens. So we happen to be in the folder where this Maya file is, which is Pirate Ship 13-1. And we can see this is the Maya binary file for this scene. So what I'm going to do is click on this scene so that I can retain the exact same file name. But down here in the file name field, I'm going to delete the .mb. And then from the Files of Type drop-down menu, instead of Maya binary, I'm going to select TB 3D Export, which of course stands for Toon Boom 3D Export. And I'm going to save it in that same folder. And then when you're good with all of your choices, you can click on the button Export All. And here at the bottom, we can see the results, and it's letting us know that Pirate Ship 13-1.osb has been properly exported, and we can see that it's in the same folder as the original Maya binary file, and the entire path for where we can find it on our computer is also given. So that's it for the tutorial exporting a 3D object from Maya. Stay tuned for the next tutorial, importing a 3D object into Harmony.